Zomato is a dream company for many folks. How did you land a job at Zomato?
One fine day, I just get a LinkedIn message from an HR person at Zomato, and I was totally like crazed because I hadn't even graduated by then. And I was like, somebody from Zomato where you can't even apply directly, right? And they're reaching out, they're like, be a part of our strategy team, this, that. I was like, why not? I had 3 long rounds. First started with just an HR round wherein there was a lot of what are you doing, about my background, the kind of role that they can offer me. Then I had my second round. There was a lot of case interviews. I think I had 3 cases in that one interview itself on Zomato, food delivery problems, everything that one can think of. The third one was even crazier. After that round, I wasn't expecting to get a yes.
Hi everyone. Welcome to the Masters Union podcast. Today we have with us Dhruv, who has been leading the strategy and growth team at Zomato. So Dhruv, how has your experience been working with Zomato?
My Zomato experience for the last 9 months have been just absolutely it's fun. It's a lot of firefighting. It's a lot of doing something new, something which I genuinely didn't expect, right? And just interacting with a lot of interesting, very smart people out there, and just building blocks for something I really want to do later. So it's a lot of doing new stuff every day, lot of late nights, to be very honest, lot of late nights and lot of very hard conversations, but an amazing learning experience.
Awesome. So you came from Hull School of Business in US to pursuing your master's degree in India at Masters Union. What made you take this decision?
Yeah, so it's a question I've been asked like hundreds of times, but the only reason I would say is I was very deep rooted, to be back in India. Like I never saw myself as somebody moving, living my entire life, building my life in the US, right? I spent the 4 or 5 years there because I genuinely wanted to get the exposure, to meet the right kind of people, to be out of my comfort zone. Coming from Rajasthan, this was my way out, and wanted to try different stuff. That's why I even moved to different countries, try to work at different places, meet with different people, and all that happened at a very good time. But eventually, after 5 years of me being there and being part of a business school, I realized that the best time to do a business in at this point of time is in India, right? India is where everything is building up. So why miss that train? So yeah, it was a difficult choice. It was definitely a difficult conversation with my parents because they really wanted me to be there. But yeah, it all worked out, and Masters Union came. For me, it was something very out of my this thing, because I was planning my masters there. It was a very simple choice for me, but this was something which sounded interesting, which looked interesting. And I was like, I don't want to be the one and always have that what if question in my head. So yeah.
So now the real question, जो सब जानना चाहते हैं, how has your experience been at Masters Union these months?
To be very fair, it has been absolutely crazy. My Master Union journey was genuinely crazy because I did a bunch of stuff here, which I genuinely didn't expect myself to do, if I weren't here. I did a drop shipping project. I just started a drop shipping company. Then there was this consulting project that I was part of. I never had a consulting experience, but this was really amazing with a small vada pav vendor. How do you fix their problems through your business skills and everything? Then I started a ready to drink cocktail brand, which was very random, but sounded very interesting. And I was like, this is something I have to do. I've seen something in the US worked so crazily, but there's nothing out there in India. And from having that to actually building products for it, to showcasing it in an event in Bangalore as well, getting sold out in fact. And then I entirely moved on to a fintech startup, which was very different, but sounded again very interesting. Had a brilliant experience. So yeah, my Master Union journey, that coupled with my hostel experience, which was again absolutely fun. So yeah, it was beautiful.
So talking about startups, Masters Union is actually famous for building startups, and your startup Esopfi landed to the finale of Masters Union's demo day. So what did it take to build it, and how did you come up with the idea?
So I'll start with the idea. part,
Right.
because it was absolutely like a brilliant experience, and getting into the demo day was absolutely fun, because mentors, you see the people on TV, and you just hear about them, and we were presenting in front of them, which was absolutely amazing. So the idea came in a very normal class at this Sarthak Ahuja's class here at Masters Union itself. We were talking about ESOPs as a category which was booming, like in the Indian and global startup ecosystem. And that just got me into thinking, is are there any possible solutions out there for this kind of a category which is booming, and everyone's talking about it. Like, I hear my friends here talking about, if I don't get itna fixed, let me just get ESOPs itna. But are you actually planning on what you're going to do with your ESOPs? Do you know what comes with it or doesn't come with it? Because it's such an unexplored segment which is, yeah, booming. So that's how I did a bit of research. I had my sessions with Sarthak, and I was like, I genuinely want to do something around it. We researched and came up with this lending program. We were like, this is just a very unexplored category. It's an asset class which nobody is recognizing or thinking about. So why not use it for lending purposes? That can be brilliant, of brilliant, amazing, hundreds of ideas that can come through for ESOPs, which are just not there. So that's how it came through. It took a lot of convincing, to be honest, for people out there, for my professors, because they were like, it's too risky of an asset to do anything with, all this. But yeah, me and so I found a co-founder as well, Ronit Bhandari, again one of the people at Masters Union. So he actually had a lot of fintech lending app building experience. So that worked quite well with me, and especially because he was my roommate at the hostel. So we were like, spoke about it, and it all came through because he was like, bro, I'm building literally the same thing for another company. We're like, might as well just do something for ourselves. So that's how it came through. We had our session with Pratham. It was a lot of brainstorming, how to fix it, how to actually make sure that there is a market out there. Then we did the whole mom test and everything, and yeah, that's how we got through. We got our 1 lakh pre-seed funding, which got us through to work on our MVP, to build our model. But yeah, eventually it all came together. For the demo day as well, there were a lot of, again, late nights there, lot of session with Pratham, the entire team, how to build the marketing around it, how to build the product itself, the partners that you would need, because it's not just something that you sell and which you can just buy from somewhere. You have to get the licenses and everything to do something like this. But yeah, we figured it out on time, thankfully. And we got Mandeep and Deep Nagpal as our mentors from the this thing, because we won, there were prizes, and we saw that there were a lot of people interested in funding us, mentoring us. And we spoke with a bunch of people. These guys were very much active. They're like, we've built similar startups. We just want to be part of this because it looks like the next big thing. So yeah, it was good.
Awesome. So, you have lived and worked in different parts of the world,
Mhm.
be it London, Dubai, Rajasthan.
Mhm.
So, how has it shaped you as a person?
Yeah, to how has it changed? So I've basically, the only good part about it is, I think I now know how to handle people. I now know how to work with different kinds of people. I now know how to work in different kinds of work environments, because everywhere you work, you understand the problem that comes with it. You understand how the people are there, how culture makes a lot of difference. So working in Dubai, working in London, working in San Francisco was just building blocks for what I am today, because now I know, communication wise, how to fix problems, how to present stuff, and how to make sure that people are getting what you're trying to say, right? And the problems that somebody else might not anticipate, but you've just seen so many different kind of environments, especially when you're working at a global firm and everything. So yeah, that has really helped me just get that perspective in a whole wider global way.
So, now talking about Zomato, Zomato is a dream company for many folks.
Hmm.
So, how did you land a job at Zomato, and what does a day in your life look like?
So, to be very honest, I wasn't looking for a job at the time when this came through. But one fine day, I just get a LinkedIn message from an HR person at Zomato, and I was totally like crazed because like, you wouldn't expect somebody like, because I hadn't even graduated by then, right? And I was like, somebody from Zomato where you can't even apply directly, right? And they're reaching out, they're like, be a part of our strategy team, this, that. I was like, why not? Let me try this out if this works, because I also wanted to so it's just my psychology how it works, that like to be able to build something for yourself, you need to see how others have done it, right? And what better way to like kind of learn in the most celebrated biggest startup of the country, Zomato, right? So I just dropped everything. I was like, let's focus on this. I did all the Mises, all the possible interview, techniques that one can learn out of. It was very detailed, I must say, like three interviews. I think the whole 1 hour, Misi and everything. There are a lot of cases that you solve for, but the team helped me a lot. I must say, like Mehak, Richa, they really helped me how to make sure you answer everything right. The stuff that Zomato would want from you, and that really helped me be where I am. And as to how Zomato is working, it's amazing. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of learning and work. A lot of working, dealing with very brilliant people out there who are doing brilliant stuff, and it's impacting a lot of lives, because Zomato is one company where you deal with customers as one stakeholders and delivery partners as another. It's not just a buy and sell direct this thing. And then comes the merchants, right? So that gives a lot of learning experience and building blocks of for what you want to do later.
So now, from having an interest in investment banking, finance, ESOPs, as you've told us before, how did this transition happen to growth and strategy team?
Yeah, because eventually you do really want to get into that, right? So finance, investment banking, all of these are very strong hard skills that you would want to eventually get anywhere, like literally in the world, right? And I genuinely wanted this to be my core, this skill that I wanted, because that is implied anywhere that you go, specifically when you want to start something of your own, right? And from that to strategy and growth is because one is learning all the theoretical stuff, learning how to deal with people and all, and second is execution, right? How you deal with the problems, how you make a strategy and you implement something through and through, and how you learn from that. So that all comes under strategy and growth. So I've never had that kind of experience, and that's what really intrigued me to get into something like this. Just make sure you've had that kind of learnings as well when you actually go out to do something of your own, because theoretically it all makes sense, but practically does it? Are your strategies doing what they're doing? What's the efficiency like? Are you good at it? Are you not good at it? What can you learn from it? So this is all something that I learned at Zomato. I'm still learning. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So काम की बातें बहुत हो गई. Now let's talk about the real college life and what
Okay.
went behind it.
Yeah.
So if you could relive one epic night from your college, which one would it be?
One epic night. Yeah, there were many. Okay. But I think it would be one of my friends' birthday night. I wouldn't name him, but yeah, it was a totally. I don't think that night ended. Okay. We had a lot of fun. To put it mildly, we had a lot of problems. Again, to put it mildly. And somehow we just after a full scale boys Bollywood night and everything, we ended up playing cricket. Just I don't know how. And yeah, that night, that morning ended on we playing cricket, and then just chilling at the balcony and then sleeping off until I don't God knows how long. So yeah.
I think that's how most colleges are,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So how is Dhruv now different from how Dhruv was before Masters Union?
how am I different? I think I'm a lot more confident, I guess. Now I'm just I've थोड़ा डर होता है ना, वो निकल गया. In doing a lot of stuff, now I have a lot to say for myself as well than just being like कि हाँ मैंने 4 साल पढ़ाई की है, and there's nothing more to it, that kind of stuff. But yeah, very confident, and just willing to try something new every now and then, and actually looking forward to learning different stuff from different people.
So Dhruv, What was it like to land up a job at Zomato? Like, can you describe the interview process that you went through?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, at the time when it came through, I wasn't even looking for a job. But then when it came, like it came knocking literally on my LinkedIn. KR, like there are these open roles, and we found your profile very interesting. And I just dropped everything because I'm like, Zomato came in and like, what better than this? So I spoke to the career prep team here. And again, it was like, something that they really helped me with, because to be very fair, I wasn't that prepared at the time for some what these guys had like planned for my interview, because it was totally very very detailed. Like I had three long rounds with them. First started with just an HR HR round, wherein there was a lot of what are you doing, about my background, the kind of role that they can offer me, the kind of learnings, the kind of experience that I can learn from it, and a lot of convincing either ways on why this can work as a role. And then like the HR was very sweet enough to suggest me a few roles. I got back with the strategy and growth, which worked perfectly for me. Then I had my second round, wherein I there was a lot of case interviews coming up. Like I think I had three cases in that one interview itself on Zomato, food delivery problems, other world problems, everything that one can think of. So yeah, for the preparation part, again, the career prep team helped me a lot, because I wasn't very familiar with the whole MECE and breaking down each and everything to put it out there, the communication part of it, which is very, very important. Like now that I know that I got through everything, I'm very lucky to just be very clear on how things worked, how to put it out there, because दिमाग में सबके होता है. It just you're not sure on how they want to hear it, or how you want to tell it, right? If it comes out as you would want it to. So that really helped me. The consulting folks here at my batchmate, they really helped me with it. And after my second round, I got very confident. I'm like, अब तो हो जाएगा. And now that I'm sure, but I'll be very honest, the third round was even crazier. After that round, I wasn't expecting to get a yes, to be very fair, because it was such crazy asked questions, all from different perspectives of everything. But yeah, I mean, learning from these amazing people out here, the career prep, especially Richa, because she helped me through the whole process. She helped me think about everything from a very holistic view, than just a narrow view, and make sure you're ready for the interview. And once I cleared it, Mehek helped me a lot. Mehek helped me a lot with the decision making, because I also had a different offer at the time from a startup, but how this was perfect, and I'm really grateful for her.
Awesome. So you had a very cool idea of why cocktail, like the
Hmm.
dropshipping business you did here. So can you describe us and what went behind it?
Yeah, so yeah, this is one idea which I carried with myself when I came back from the US. I was like, I need to have something like, Jose Cuervo, the tequila brand, has a ready to drink margarita on every Walmart, every Safeway out there. But India has nothing of such sort. They came up with a Bombay Sapphire gin cocktail, but it's not as distributed. It's not a 1 liter bottle which I can be very happy with, I can end my night with. Cocktails are still very elite, or you have to go to a proper bar, cafe kind of place, and spend certain amount of money to get cocktails, good cocktails. You can't make it at home, right? So that is something I really wanted to do. I also built four different flavors around it. I've partnered with couple of mixologists who've been in the industry for one of them being this chilies ka 15 years ka this thing experience bartender. And he was like, I'm really interested, because he also wanted to do something very of this sort. Then we ended up making these four brilliant recipes. We even packaged them and showcased it at a Masters Union event in Bangalore. They were like, we I think we outsold 200 bottles there and had a brilliant response. But like I didn't take it forward, because with alcohol there comes a lot of regulatory and lot of issues, which I really didn't want to get into at this point of life for myself. Yeah.
So, you built a fintech startup, Esopfi, at the VIP stage of Masters Union. So, can you describe the stages that you went through, the pre-seed, the MVP, and how did you land finally at the finale day?
Yeah. So so this idea came very randomly to me, to be very honest. It was one day in a class at Masters Union itself. It was a Sarthak Ahuja class, one of my favorite classes. It was brilliant professor. So we were just attending and we were looking at the Bain and Company ka report. That yearly quarterly report had just come out and we were reading it on what's going right, like what are the new things. And he spoke about ESOPs as a category which was booming, right? And we all were aware, like we all know, okay, ESOPs is like booming, and like everyone wants to get ESOPs at these amazing startups and like build the net worth and everything. But when I actually researched about it, I understood that there are not a lot of solutions out there when it comes to ESOPs, either for liquidizing it or like liquidate करने का options नहीं है. There are no ways to track on what's happening with your ESOP. Like with stocks, you have 800 apps. You can just see if you should buy or sell this, or if what's the dashboard like on, or like what's going to come through, what's not going to come through, how is it going to look in 5 years. But you don't have anything of such sort for ESOPs. And at the point when we researched, we understood, like we had a lot of brainstorming sessions. I had a lot of brainstorming sessions with a lot of my professors here, because they were all like they'd all worked at certain companies at certain point of their life, and everyone had worked with ESOPs one or the other way. So I all like literally had my go to customers and like the people to like get the feedback from, to understand what kind of solutions are needed. And the lucky part for me was that my co-founder, which was also my roommate at the hostel here at Masters Union, was at the time working at a fintech firm for a lending part of their business. So he was literally building what we wanted to build for Esopfi, right? So when I discussed this with him, he was like, this is perfect because I'm literally doing the same thing. And that's how we were like, let's do it. Then we had a lot of conversations with Pratham, because like again, it had a lot of convincing to do, because ESOPs as a category have not been explored into detail, and it's always considered a risky asset, because you always hear these stories of startups just going under, like valuation dropping to by like 50%. So what happens to your ESOPs? That's where we come in, like we predict these stuff and everything. So yeah, we had a lot of these meetings with Pratham. We had a lot of meeting with Prachi at Sequoia. She helped a lot because, like again, these guys are doing the whole startup. These guys are running the startup ecosystem. We even had a chat with Apurv Chamaria, he the Google venture capital head, and like you get to speak with these people. You get a lot of perspective on if you're doing something right or not. So about the business model, had a lot of iterations, and then when it actually came through, we got our 1 lakh ka check at the pre-seed challenge. We won at the MVP this thing as well. So like had a brilliant experience. And then like all of this came through, and yeah, finale day came up. We presented, and like when you get to present in front of such like amazing people, like what who you look up to literally. So that gives a lot of learning experience. So we won there. That gave a lot of motivation, and like that's how it all came through.
I hear you. That seems like quite a heavy and
Yeah,
hectic
yeah.
journey. Yeah.
Like I suggest everyone, like at least once to try something out, because like doing all this is a lot of fun. Like work, future, and everything is, yeah, obviously, like you're always working towards that, but experiencing this in itself is an like it's a experience
I think
altogether.
that's what Masters Union is known for, right? Hands-on learning,
Correct.
experiential learning,
Absolutely.
basically.
Yeah.
Right. So while pursuing your masters at Masters Union in India, were you planning to take up jobs in roles outside India, and what exactly made you stay here?
No, yeah, not particularly. I mean, I really wanted to have that experience of like these amazing startups coming up, like so Zomato, like the reason, one of the reasons why I chose Zomato was because it's the ultimate consumer, like user friendly, customer focused business, right? Something which I really want to build, right? And one thing I really appreciate about Zomato is that they understand their customers. They know what the problem is. They're always working on themselves to make it more relevant, right? In a way. So me going back to US would just take me back to like zero from when I touched the one trademark. And that coupled with my I genuinely I'm already working on something, so that will take away. So me and my co-founder, we're working on something, and we're like, let's do it. Everything is going well, the work is good, you're learning a lot of stuff, so just don't step back. I mean, the money could have been crazier, I understand that, but from future perspective, from my perspective, what I really wanted to do was to challenge myself. Do something new, try something out, try working in an environment which is more uncomfortable, right? Which is more difficult, because life there was easy. I'm coming from a very different point of view, but yeah, it got a bit easy. You had I had a very cushy job, from what 9 to 5, and you're done for the day. I'm traveling to Hawaii and everything, but again, does that really give you the experience that you really want at this age? Right, this is the time when I can hustle, when I can do a lot of stuff, when I could be actually working for 24 hours and still be fine, right? So that's why.
So you basically took the road less taken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm being very honest, again, a lot of difficult conversations with my parents, but I know they're
So it was
happy
all
with
worth
it.
it.
Yeah, it was all worth it.
So Zomato is one of the most trending companies in India with every exciting and new campaign they come up with. So can you tell us one of your crazy stories that you witnessed as Zomato?
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't far too long before. So New Year Eve, right? And it's the biggest day at Zomato, right? And it's like sabka mila lo, and that's how many orders you're gonna get on New Year's, right? And working in the logistics, the main delivery partner wala department at Zomato, it was one of the craziest day that I've witnessed altogether in my lifetime, because everyone were there on the 31st ka night, and they wanted to make sure everything goes smoothly. So we had a total a combined 2015 to 2020 ka all New Year's combined ka order volume se zyada on that day itself, that night itself, in fact. And the dinner peak that we expected was just amazing. You would see the orders and you'd be like, what is India doing? It was that kind of a day for us. But making sure active fleet, making sure there are enough delivery partners is a bigger task, right? Because it's their New Year's as well, and they want to celebrate it. So you want to have them incentivized in a way that they're working for them. They're working in a timely manner, making everything for everyone happy. Because one customer, if you make unhappy on a New Year Eve, they're not gonna come back to you, right? So you have to make sure. And we met our targets, very thankfully we did, and had a brilliant a lot of learning experience, because you're you're seeing all the founder, the CEO guys running around, and just making sure everything's just working well, right? And making sure the customer is happy. So yeah, one of the craziest day there.
So now the most controversial question. How do you pronounce Zomato? Is it Zomato? Is it Zomato? Kya hai?
Yeah, it's whatever you want to call it. Literally, they've built it in a way to call us anything. Like this was a question we asked at the town hall as well. We're like, what is it? Just clear it out, because even in the advertisements that's running, it's a Zomato or Zomato, call it anywhere, and it's India, whatever. But it is literally whatever you want
What
to
do you
call it.
call it in office?
I call it different every day. I call it Zomato once. I call it Zomato on some other day. It's. But I think everyone calls it Zomato more or less.
Not a Zomato or a...
No. Yeah, it's Zomato.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Dhruv, for taking out your time today and coming to campus. It was a pleasure hosting you. And we hope that you will soon return to our campus as one of our masters.
Oh, touch wood. Let's make this happen. Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us today at the Masters Union podcast. Bye.